I honestly don't know what the direction of my channel is anymore. I thought I would be uploading speed paints, but the first 3 videos are not that. Companies are sketchy, I think we all know that, and I've always wanted to know why they are so sketchy and cannot be direct, down to the support representatives indirectly answering your question. Whether or not they've been trained to speak like a robot, I would not know. My experience with these companies have been frustrating. I'm sure many of us can relate, and SoFi is the most recent one for me. It's funny because there used to be a typo. It used to say up to, which is why I was skeptical at first, but I thought it wouldn't hurt to try, and I guess I never should have second-guessed myself. I wanted to open an account, so that's what I did. I clicked open an account, filled out my name, email, date of birth, address, social security number, citizenship status, country of citizenship, I don't know why they would need those, occupation, income, etc. that were all required to fill out, and proceeded. But they backtracked me into a page that said SoFi thinks that some of the information I put in is incorrect, and that I should verify and change some things. But I looked at all the information again, and they all looked correct, so I proceeded forward again, and it said they were unable to open my account and have emailed me the details. But I was logged in, so they clearly created my account. I guess my account just had a profile, and that's it. That's like if you went to an actual bank and you filled out the open bank account form and they didn't make you an account, they just kept the form and all your information for their own records. Why would they need non-customer information? They're like, we'll still keep all the information you gave us, and you can access your account with your email and password, but you can't do anything you intended to do by creating the account in the first place. So the account is useless. There's nothing to do when you log in, and there's nothing I can do about it. I was expecting them to say something like contact here if you have any questions, or some kind of support link to help verify information to get past this issue so I can create a bank account because they have my information still, but there was none of that. They just say we apologize for any inconvenience. Like, I'm sorry we can't get you an account, but you can log into your profile and wish for one. The email reads, this may be a result of our inability to verify certain information that is required under the Patriot Act, which is a law passed to obstruct terrorism. And in this case, I believe is a reference to Section 326 of the Patriot Act, which prescribes regulations establishing minimum standards for financial institutions and their customers regarding the identity of a customer. I thought standards was an interesting word choice as opposed to requirements, because standard is subjective, is it not? Like, it sounds funny to say a customer must meet their standards to join. I was hoping it would tell me what the specific standards are, like what information financial institutions need to verify in a customer to open their account, and how the verification will occur, because I wanted to know what SoFi meant by certain information, but it just says that financial institutions should verify their customer's identity, and the customer should comply with that by giving the institutions their personal information, like your name and address. I don't know how reasonable and practicable asking for your citizenship and social security information is, but I guess it falls under other identifying information. Data made available to us through public or private sources, which in this case does not include data obtained from any consumer credit reporting agency, aka non-credit bureaus. That makes it sound so sketchy. So I guess they ran a third-party background check on me and couldn't figure out who I was or something, which I don't understand how, because I literally gave them all my personal information. I guess whatever they use to verify identity is not the best. I was curious to see if I could find anything about data sources, so I did a little search, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised because I guess I just never thought about this before. I always assumed that if I tell a financial company my personal information, they would verify it with the government, but I guess that's not how it works. It turns out there are softwares that track consumer data. Digital footprint analysis. Every user who lands on your site comes with a certain amount of unique data. By enriching that data, you can profile them to an astounding degree. Wow, that seems kind of scary. It reminds me of a time when I was in college. One of my professors told me that when students visit his website to view resources or submit homework or whatever, Google would tell him the previous site that the student visited before going to his. We can run a simulation, match the user's identity to digital profiles using just their email or phone number, look at digital profiles to help with identity verification. I'm assuming digital and social profiles are every site that you have a profile in, as in every site you ever made an account in using that email or phone number, whether that's social media, Discord, or gaming, which would imply that all those sites just give out your information. It looks like location can also be tracked. Every time I heard of a privacy breach by a company, I always wondered who they were selling consumer information to, who would buy that, but it would make sense if a data collecting agency would buy them because they can sell it to every other company. It is a legal requirement for financial institutions to verify identity, though. I guess the government is like, use whatever method to know your customer. We're not going to help, we're just going to collect $35.3 billion in compliance fines. Upon further research, the top 5 identity verification methods are knowledge-based authentication, two-factor authentication, credit bureau-based authentication, database methods, and online verification. The ones relevant to us for the purpose of this video being credit bureau-based authentication and database methods. It says here that credit bureaus may not be able to match users with thin credit files such as young people and recent immigrants. I'm not a recent immigrant, but I am young. Aside from those facts, however, SoFi clearly stated that they did not collect data using this method, which leads us to database methods. Database ID methods use data from a variety of sources to verify someone's identity. These sources include online databases from social media as well as offline databases. Database methods are often used to assess the level of risk a user poses since they significantly reduce the need for manual reviews. The biggest disadvantage of these methods is that they don't ensure that the person providing the information is the person conducting the transaction, largely due to the proliferation of false online identities. I don't have social media. I wonder what they mean by offline databases, and I'm not sure what the last sentence means, but what I'm gathering is that it's unreliable. Moving on to the last point in the email, which is certain transactions or attempted transactions with us or an affiliate. I don't even know what this indicates, like an illegal transaction using a SoFi card that I don't have, and I doubt these results are what they mean by affiliate. I later found their affiliates while reading privacy policies, and I don't have a connection with any of these companies. So I decided to delete the account that I just made because there is no use for it if I can't make a bank account. But I realized I couldn't on my own because the option is not in account settings, so I searched up how. How do I delete my SoFi account? Thanks for being part of the SoFi family. We are sorry to see you go. I was never part of the family. You didn't let me in the family. Please log into your account to begin a chat with one of our agents, or you can call us at this number. By agent, they mean a virtual assistant that will not be able to help you, so my only choice was to call them. If you do decide to deactivate your account, the login and password will be removed from the system and your account will no longer be accessible. I thought you were going to teach me how to delete my account, not deactivate it so I can't log in anymore. I want you to not have my account anymore. All they're doing is getting rid of the password that I made and unauthorizing the email used to log in. Of course, most people did not find this helpful. You can reach a real agent by the classic phone method of ignoring all the automated options and spamming 0. The agent that I spoke with was basically like, oh, you can't open an account for whatever reason? Sure, let me deactivate your account for you so you no longer have access to it, as if that's what matters. Which leads me to believe that SoFi either does not care if you become a customer at all, as long as they have your information, or the agent knew the exact reason my bank account couldn't be created but didn't tell me because they would have my information regardless of deactivation. Notice how I said deactivation and not deletion. You cannot delete your account. He said that the email will be blacklisted so that I cannot log in anymore. And when I said, well, that's not really deleting the account because they still have my email on file, he said it's just the email that is going to be blacklisted so that it is unauthorized, so there is nothing to worry about and the password is going to be deleted. He did not mention the deletion of any other personal information. I would understand if I was actually with them, but they didn't even let me in, so I was never a customer because they didn't want my money, so none of this made sense. I gave them all my information and they gave me nothing. I thought this was supposed to be an exchange of service. Anyways, I hung up the call because we were getting annoyed at each other. That's when I read that SoFi is required to comply with state and federal laws with regard to record retention, which may require us to maintain documentation of your experience with us. Why is that a may? Can you dodge legal requirements? Well, I guess this is what happens when you do so. I called again to ask if they keep documentation of personal information such as social security number, address, and date of birth even after you request the deletion of your account. As in, is there no way to actually delete your account? This time a different agent picked up, and I didn't want to go through the whole process of giving my name and social security number again, so when he asked for my name, I told him that I just have a general question to ask, but he said, "Can you please just tell me what your name is?" Like he physically cannot tell me any general information if he doesn't pull up personal information on the screen. He did kindly respond to my question though, and said that federal law requires them to keep all personal records for 5 years. But he also said if you're a permanent resident living in California, you can request the deletion of your account, and it looks like you are a permanent resident living in California. I was so confused because that's such a specific requirement. I asked if this only applies to California, and he said yes, because the state's privacy laws differ, which I guess rules over federal law in this case. So if you were in any other state, you wouldn't have been able to delete your account. This piece of information is why I made a video on my experience with SoFi. I thought this law was interesting. So is SoFi sketchy? They are not particularly more sketchy than any of the other sketchy companies, I suppose. Their privacy policies are publicly available online, in which they state that they collect, among others, your internet and electronic network activity information such as browsing history, geolocation data such as device location and certain device information, preferences and characteristics, social security number, financial information such as student loan, personal and mortgage account numbers, characteristics of protected classifications under California or federal law such as age, citizenship, and marital status, your professional and employment history, information about your commercial transactions, psychological trends, predispositions, behavior, attitudes, intelligence, abilities, and aptitudes, sensory data including audio such as call recordings. They have also collected and disclosed alias, postal address, unique personal identifier, online identifier, internet protocol address, driver's license number, passport number, race, sex, religion, national origin, I think there should be a comma here, records of personal property, products or services purchased, obtained or considered, or other purchasing or consuming histories or tendencies, search history, and information regarding a consumer's interaction with an internet website, application, or advertisement. They left out the fact that they also collect your income or salary information in the privacy notice for California, despite asking for it before you even join the family. However, it is on the general privacy policy. I just figured they would write it again like they did with everything else, but that's fine. Notable sources of personal information are consumer data resellers, social and media networks, collection agencies, I wonder what they collect, data brokers, which include data aggregators, data compilers, and data compiler/originators. I don't know if 2 data compilers were necessary, but I guess they really want you to know that they get your information from data compilers. I found it strange how they share your personal information back with all the sources they get your data from, and more it seems. Loan servicers, payment processing, order fulfillment, customer service, auditing, IT services, operating systems and platforms, and survey, raffle, and contest providers weren't even on my radar. A lot of these third parties pretend like they don't need your personal information, but they're getting them all behind your back. Like you only fill out a fraction of the information you would need to open a bank account, to create a social media account, but it turns out that platforms want a lot more information from you. I'm not quite sure if SoFi means that they shared your information via social media or to social media, but regardless, if you're a new customer, they can begin sharing your information 30 days from the date they send a privacy notice, unless you authorize them to begin sharing immediately, which I'm sure we all want to do. When you are no longer their customer, they may continue to share your information forever, I assume. Why can't I limit all sharing? Federal law gives you the right to limit only sharing for affiliates, everyday business purposes, information about your creditworthiness, affiliates from using your information to market to you, sharing for non-affiliates to market to you. State laws and individual companies may give you additional rights to limit sharing. And we are individual companies, so basically they don't want to give you any additional rights because they want to use your data for purposes that are not required by law. If you are a resident of California or Vermont, they will not sell your information, otherwise they will. Personal data collected through the short code service will not be shared, sold, or rented to third parties for their marketing purposes. First of all, what is short code service? They do not explain it anywhere. And second, you can rent personal information? How does that work? Do you bank on the renter to forget and delete the information you sent them? Hey, don't use Brian's personal information for your advertising purposes anymore because you are no longer paying me to use my customers' information. A short code is a specialized 5 or 6-digit number ideal for marketing campaigns, lead generation, and promotions where you want people to easily remember your number. They are used for sending and receiving SMS and MMS messages to mobile phones, commonly used to send business text messages and marketing campaigns to a user's mobile device. Short code messages convey information to a customer that doesn't require a response. So the codes that 2FA texts you to verify your account, SoFi will not sell those because they are the ones that matter for longer than 10 minutes, right? I guess companies do need a type of information that they will never ask for so that customers can avoid scammers. If you live in California, you can request everything about the data they collected from you, although I am confused why this may include the selling of personal information, even though they already indicated that they do not sell your personal information. It reads, the categories of personal information that we sold in the preceding 12 months, and for each category identified, the categories of third parties to which we sold that particular category of personal information. I would say this is pretty sketchy. They do have a section called the right to opt out of the sale of personal information, but it's stated that SoFi does not provide an opt-out option since it does not sell personal information. So I guess they just have an empty section or something. Although the second agent I spoke to made it seem like I had to be a permanent resident in California to request account deletion, I couldn't find anything about that, so I think you just have to be a California resident. So from all my research, I can hypothesize that because of my VPN, they were unable to verify my address and therefore couldn't verify my identity. Also, I moved recently and haven't changed my address anywhere yet, so I'm guessing SoFi creeped around to my digital profiles and realized I had a different address on file, so they denied my application. They may also deny my data deletion request because they were unable to verify my identity. Either that or ignorance, because after the request was sent, I got an email back from a third agent basically saying, I understand you want to delete your account and opt out of communication. You will no longer receive emails from SoFi, however your account cannot be deleted because I'm unaware of policies in the company I work for. Which wouldn't be the first time because it didn't seem like the first agent I had the pleasure of talking to knew the CCPA either. This kind of frustrating service happens with every company though. At least I learned that if you want to virtually limit your data on the internet just to fuck companies over, you can use a different email and phone number for everything you ever sign up for. Sure, they would still have your data, but it would be hard to link all those accounts to the same person if you also have a VPN, because all your accounts would be connected to different IP addresses. Also, other private practices such as certain browsers and extensions will help too. Not to say that this is entirely doable, because it's not. Most people will have one phone and will not use a different email for everything because that's ridiculous. But I do feel enlightened now that I have some closure as to what is happening in the online world. I had a lot of fun making this video, so I hope you also enjoyed.